We start with the Raiders' offensive line versus Chargers' defensive line. The Raiders' offensive line has started to show up again in terms of run blocking, but they have not been doing well overall. I can't say they're back to the dominant group they were last year, and it's only been one game. This season has not gone well for the highly paid veteran offensive line, and they must get on track soon. Until I see the line that we all remember, I'm not giving them the benefit of the doubt. As for the Chargers' defensive line, they've actually been pretty decent. They have key cogs in Brandon Mebane and Corey Liuget, but they're doing horribly in the running game. They're getting pushed back and are ranked last in run defense. The saving grace, of course, is Joey Bosa and the pass defense. They put plenty of pressure on the quarterback, and you do not want to be an obvious passing situation. The edge here goes to the Chargers. They've consistently put pressure on the quarterback all season. The Raiders' running backs consist of a really good trio on paper. Lynch is the bull, and Richard and Washington split the rest of the carries. They haven't performed well as of late, but I think that has more to do with the line than the backs. Washington was held out last game because of injury, but this group works best as a trio. The Chargers linebackers have a big-time playmaker in Melvin Ingram. He already has 7.5 sacks on the season, and it makes an excellent pass rushing duo with Joey Bosa. The problem is, their two interior linebackers aren't very good. Corey Toomer, Jatavius Brown, and Kyle Emanuel just aren't very talented and don't have very high ceilings and have allowed the most rushing yards in the NFL so far. I'm giving the Raiders the edge here. They're not as good as last year, but not the worst in the NFL like the Chargers. As for the wide receiver core, what is going on with Amari Cooper? Michael Crabtree played well last game despite being hurt. This receiving core and the offense as a whole need Cooper to return to form though. Hopefully, Cooper starts showing signs of the Amari Cooper that we've all seen for the past couple of years. For the Chargers, they have one of the best corners in the NFL with Casey Hayward. He had a great season last year with 7 interceptions. Sadly, the snake-bitten Chargers lost their excellent cornerback in Jason Brett again. As for the edge, I'm giving it to the Raiders. I'm going to assume Crabtree and Hayward each do their own thing. I can't give Cooper the benefit of the doubt anymore, but the Raiders have a much higher ceiling. Now we move on to the Raiders tight ends versus Chargers safeties. For the Raiders tight ends, Jared Cook has had a solid start to the season, but he made a big mistake in fumbling early last game. Lee Smith and Clive Walford have plenty of talent and each play their role well. The Chargers safeties consist of Trey Boston and Jahil Adi. These guys aren't too talented, but are certainly starting caliber safeties in the NFL. I'm giving the advantage to the Raiders. Cook has been playing well so far, and the rest of the group plays well when they're on the field. For the big battle, I'm going to assume Derek Carr is able to play. Odds are he will be somewhat limited, and the Raiders will hope to lean on the running game regardless. Derek Carr has cooled up as of late, even before the injury. The Chargers have Gus Bradley as their defensive coordinator. He's the ex-Jaguars head coach, but wasn't able to produce despite the talent. I'm going to give Derek Carr the slight edge here. Carr is smart and should put his team in the best position to win. Now we move on to the Raiders defense versus Chargers offense, and we start with the lines. The Raiders defensive line isn't a world beater, but it's better than last year. Eddie Vanderdoss and Mario Edwards Jr. have each had their moments. More importantly, they have Khalil Mack. Nearly every metric and even the eyeball test has him dominating. The Chargers, on the other hand, have trouble protecting Phillip Rivers. They even brought in Russell Okung to help. They're better than last year, but that's not saying too much. The edge here goes to the Raiders. There just aren't very many lines that can compete well with Khalil Mack. Next, we move on to the Raiders linebackers versus Chargers running backs. The Raiders linebackers have Corey James and Marquel Lee. There just isn't a very high ceiling with this group. They haven't been awful, but they're certainly not amazing. Division III rookie free agent Nicholas Morrow has been playing well and has been solid in coverage. The Chargers, though, have Melvin Gordon. Gordon didn't play well his rookie year, but has come on strong since. He's a very good runner and a very dangerous receiver out of the backfield. There's no comparison here. Gordon and the Chargers easy. As for the Raiders secondary, they are banged up. First round pick Gareon Conley is still dealing with shin pain, and David Emerson was held out last game injured. That leaves struggling Sean Smith as the only healthy starting caliber cornerback. Not ideal, but certainly doable. The Chargers have big-time receivers in Keenan Allen and Tyrell Williams. Travis Benjamin is a big play receiver, and he could definitely give the Raiders problems. Hopefully, Sean Smith isn't asked to cover Benjamin one-on-one, as that has been a recipe for disaster. In the end, I'm giving the edge to the Chargers. Allen is a beast, and the corners have not been doing well. Now, we move on to the Raiders safeties versus Chargers tight ends. The safety duo of Reggie Nelson and Carl Joseph have played well in the beginning, but have struggled recently. They have not done much to prevent the big play, and Mike Wallace ate them alive last game. They still struggle with tight ends, but Carl Joseph has been playing well in his second year. The Chargers tandem of Antonio Gates and Hunter Henry make one of the better tight end groups in the NFL. Both have the trust of Phillip Rivers. Gates might be getting up there in age, but I'm still giving the Chargers the edge here. The Titans are solid, and the Raiders are just struggling, and you don't know what will happen game to game. As for Phillip Rivers versus Ken Norton Jr., there is no competition. Ken Norton Jr. just doesn't put his team in the best chance to win. Rivers isn't having a great year, but he's still a good quarterback and can carry the offense. Advantage Chargers. Overall, I'm giving the Raiders the slight edge. The Chargers are a very talented team, and there's a reason many people had them as a sleeper pick this year. On paper, the team is talented, but just hasn't produced in games. Health permitting, I just trust Derek Carr more than Phillip Rivers when the game is on the line.